Time is now 5:01 p.m. We will now call this regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humboldt Independent School District to order. A closed session of the board will now be held on matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is now 5:02 p.m. Time is now 7:14, and we will now reconvene into open session. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder that the meetings of the board are open to the public, but are not a meeting of the public. Humboldt ISD Board of Trustees meet monthly at a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and take action from recommendations of the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation several days in advance of the regular meeting, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions in advance of the regular meeting. Therefore, lengthy discussions are not always necessary on every agenda item, but as a board, we do have the appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of the meeting tonight. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item, Pledge of Allegiance.
Forward, march, left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, left, march time, march, left, colors, up, left, face, present, arms.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
To Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Order, arms. Left, right, face. Forward, march. Left, 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 right. Left, 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 right.
Please join me in a moment of prayer. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, moving to our next agenda item, commendations and recognitions. Dr. Fagan, can you please introduce tonight's inspiring moments?
Absolutely. In May 2022, our community generously supported students and staff by approving a bond proposition that funds technology. Tonight's inspiring moment shows what is being purchased, who is receiving it, and when they will receive it. Also, what factors went into the planning timeline.
From the beginning of time, tools and learning have gone hand in hand. We've used the abacus, a slate tablet, a slide ruler, and recently a projector. Today, 21st century students live in a world where knowledge, training, and opportunities are often accessed online. In May of 2022, Humboldt ISD citizens voted for students, teachers, and schools to have additional, newer technology. Bond 2022 Proposition B provides $45 million for technology purchases and upgrades over the next 5 school years. With bond funds now available, the computers are coming. The purpose of this video is to share what you will be receiving and when you will receive it. There are 3 categories of purchases being made: devices for staff, devices for classrooms, and devices for students. First, every instructional staff member will have the opportunity to get a new laptop, charger, and carrying case. The laptop will be more powerful than devices currently in use, and they will run a Windows operating system. Every office or front desk staff member will have the opportunity to get a new desktop computer, keyboard, and dual monitors. Almost all campus staff will receive their new laptop or desktop during the 2023-2024 school year. The only exceptions will be staff at campuses that opened in the last 3 years, since those campuses already have newer technology in place. In fact, teachers at some campuses have already started receiving their new laptops. When it is time for a school to get new devices, staff will receive information about how to move their files over to their Google Drive. Then they will turn in their old devices and be issued a new device. And not to worry, their old devices won't go to waste. Older devices will be assessed, refurbished, and redistributed for users across the district. Second, every classroom will be equipped with an interactive panel with an integrated PC.
We are incredibly excited here at Humboldt L to have the touch screens. I know at the beginning it was a bit overwhelming. Many teachers expressed that they didn't even know where to start, how to use it.
Initially, I thought it was just a gigantic TV.
But now I've heard from multiple teachers around campus express how excited they are to have this tool because it allows students, even parents, volunteers, teachers to really come together and use technology in a way that is benefiting the school and enhancing the learning here at Humboldt L.
I use it every single day. It is my whiteboard, it is my problem solver, it is my video player, it's my projector, everything that you would need in the classroom, technology-wise, it's all that and one.
It's essentially a whole new world in itself, so there's a lot of new experiences that I see.
The projectors in the past from my other years teaching, it takes long to power up, there's a screen to pull down, and you can't even write on it. And so with this thing, you can write on it, you can let the students write on it, and you can play videos from it. There's just so much options that you can do with the ClearTouch that the projector did not have capability to do.
The interactive panels will elevate classroom flexibility and functionality. No matter the room, the staff member will have all their digital files readily available just by logging into their Google Drive on the interactive panel. This will make more classrooms ready to host guest teachers, committee meetings, and more. And with these panels, teachers will no longer need to use devices like overhead projectors.
Teacher, the projector bulb went out again.
Third, all campuses will receive new Chromebooks on charging carts. At the elementary level, there will be 24 Chromebooks on each cart. At the secondary level, there will be 32 Chromebooks on each cart. Purchases will be made so that there is one new Chromebook per 2 students at every campus. Once the new Chromebooks arrive, the overall ratio will actually be greater than 1 Chromebook per 2 students since campuses already have older Chromebooks they may keep. The devices will be rolled out on a staggered schedule. There are 2 reasons for this. We remain committed to our promise of not raising the tax rate, so the district sells only a portion of the bonds at one time in order to keep the tax rate stable. 2, it is wise to purchase technology over time instead of all at once so that all of our devices don't expire in the same year. For example, Chromebooks can be updated over a period of time. However, after 7 years, the operating system updates aren't supported. Therefore, the Chromebooks won't be compatible with the state testing platform. The new technology will be rolled out first to campuses that have the oldest devices. I know what you're thinking. How did the district determine which campuses had the oldest devices?
Mathematics, of course.
The formula may look complicated, but it's actually quite simple. Using the inventory numbers provided by each campus, we took the average age of Windows devices, meaning laptops and PCs, plus the average age of classroom displays, meaning projectors, document cameras, panels, and things of that nature, plus the average age of Chromebooks, plus the average number of years remaining until the Chromebooks auto-expire. Each of these numbers is added to reveal each campus's age of devices score. From this formula, we learned that Pine Forest Elementary has the oldest devices, and no surprise, Autumn Ridge Middle School has the newest devices. The rollout for staff devices, classroom devices, and student devices will all occur based on this formula. Campuses with the oldest devices get new devices first, starting with the 2023-2024 school year. When is my campus going to receive our new Bond 2022 funded technology? To find out, visit your campus website and go to the link provided under Resources at the bottom of the page. So, let's sum up and clarify a few things. Bond 2022 funds are now available and computers are coming. Campuses with the oldest devices will be the first to receive the new devices, starting with the 2023-2024 school year. Most campuses will receive updated staff devices during the 2023-2024 school year. Old devices that are turned in will be repurposed throughout the district as needed. All teachers who use older computers for stations and/or rotations will be allowed to keep them, with the understanding that the district will not replace them in the future. All items donated through PTA, Donors Choose, or other organizations may remain on campus. Again, the district will not be responsible for replacing them in the future. All classrooms, regardless of size, will receive an interactive flat panel display. To find out when your campus will be receiving new devices, check your campus website. If you have any questions, contact your campus administrator. Thank you for your time and have a great day.
All right, I would like to recognize the technology leaders who have made this process smooth for our campuses. And let me tell you, this is no small task. So first, Chief Technology Officer Chris Cummings. Yay. Director of Campus Technology Support, Melissa Holloway. Technology Bond Coordinator, Kenya Ramirez. Customer Care Supervisor, Abria Perry. And Customer Care Supervisor, Zach Williams. I have to tell you, these folks have worked so hard to order all of these devices, get them tagged and imaged, and then distributed to our campuses, and they are making it look so easy, and we know it is not easy. So thank you to all of you for the hard work, creating a fair process, getting those staff devices out first, not buying all the computers in 1 year, because that is really tough on Billy's budget. And so we just want to say thank you for all of your hard work and everything you've done to make this so great. Thank you. Next, I have the opportunity to introduce one of my very favorite people. So I would like to have come to the podium our state representative, Charles Cunningham. Representative Cunningham served for 12 years on the Humble ISD School Board and then served on Humble City Council, was then elected to the state legislature. It's always good to have a friend in Austin. Representative Cunningham has 2 presentations to share with us tonight. Welcome.
Members, and of course the staff and audience, just the Humble family. You know, it feels good to be back home, at least just for a little while, you know, because we will have to come back. But anyway, during the 88 session, during the legislature, you know, we did a lot of things, and we're still not finished, as I said. I will be going back. But one of my favorite things was that I had an opportunity to recognize one of our students in the district with a proclamation on the floor of the Capitol with his parents and his sibling. I presented Eduardo Trevino, who is now an incoming 6th grader, to Willow Creek Middle School with a proclamation, and that was done on... that was done on March 15, 2023. Eduardo was the National Elementary/Middle School first place winner at the 2022 Mariachi Extravaganza. Since the proclamation was presented over in Austin, I had planned to do a reenactment here in Humble tonight, but as it turned out, he's got another very special moment. Eduardo is on TV appearing on America's Got Talent, and he's at and he's having this watch party. So we're gonna have a couple of questions here real quick, Eduardo. Hello, Eduardo.
Hello.
Now, y'all are gonna have to work with us here. You know, we've got technology, but you know, we've got these delays here. So I did this in the military, so you know, you count to 5. Eduardo, what was it like being in Austin during the state legislature to be recognized?
So it was an honor going to Austin and being recognized. I know that not lots of people are able to have that opportunity, so I'm definitely blessed to have that experience.
All right, thank you, thank you. Another question. Tonight, you are on TV. How did you get chosen for America Got Talent?
So I got on America's Got Talent after doing an interview on ABC 13 a couple months ago, and one of the producers contacted my mom, and they wanted us to go to LA.
Okay, great. Well, Eduardo, I mean, I know you've got a watch party going on. We're really proud of you representing not only your family, but the community, and we appreciate you sharing this special moment with us tonight. We know you're going to do amazing things and make our community proud, and I just want to say thanks once again to you and your family. Thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you.
Y'all must hear him sing. Beautiful. You know, he actually, during COVID, he taught himself how to play the guitar. And when he did come to the Capitol, he was in, his father grew up with State Rep Armando Wally. And so we were in Armando's office, and he serenaded the whole Capitol there, you know, with about 4 selections. So once again, thank you again, Eduardo. May I move on to the next section, presentation of Mr. President? Thank you. Make sure I get all my stuff right. Okay. Yeah, another celebration. You know. Once again, I want to just say it's an honor to represent District 127. I've lived here for 40 years, and I tell you, this is the home for me. I didn't grow up here, but this is home. In the legislature, we do a lot of things, and one of the big things that we're fighting with right now is school finance. So I just want y'all to know that I know school, and as a matter of fact, my wife knows school. She was a school teacher. So trust me, every night after board meeting, she said, "Who made that dumb decision?" And so, but anyway, we're here because, you know, Humble ISD has, I want to say it's 46 campuses, 47 if I count the community center, learning center. And one of the schools is Kingwood Middle School. It just marked its first year of opening a new campus. And it is my privilege to present Kingwood Middle School. And this was done during the presidency of Ms. Lamont Dixon. I'm going to present them with a flag that was flown over the Capitol this year. You know, Ms. Dixon reached out to me. And if you don't mind, I'd like for you to come down, Ms. Dixon. And also along with the current president, Mr. Scarfo, my good friend, Mr. Scarfo, come down, Dr. Fagan. And I understand that the principal is here. Yeah, Michael. Michael, and if you have anybody, if y'all would come down and I can do this presentation of the flag. If y'all would come down. So this is how we're gonna do it. Since Jonathan's already gonna take some pictures, y'all get over there and I'm gonna walk over. See, I know how to do this, Jonathan. Mr. President, going on? Yeah, Mr. President. Yeah, over there. I'm going to get in the picture. Yeah, I just want to do. I just, you know, I want to grab the mic just a little bit longer here. You know what they say about us preachers. But anyway, you know, I want to make this presentation here, and basically, you know, from the Texas House House of Representatives, from the state of Texas, we want to recognize Kingwood Middle School. And in doing that, we want to give you this flag of Texas that was flown over the Capitol on May 10th, 2023. And it's signed in my handwriting on June 13th, 2023, State Rep Charles Cunningham. And so with that, Michael, flag, I'm gonna give you the badge too.
Okay.
So I want to give you that right there and say, congratulations. I've been to the school once, and I know I need to come back. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Chris. You know I'm a bookie here.
Let's display the flag.
Yeah. Split. You know what? Yeah. Well, all right.
Alex. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. We're always thrilled to have an Humble ISD trustee in that seat again. So thank you for being here, for bringing the flag for Kingwood Middle School, and also for recognizing Eduardo and his incredible accomplishments. Next, our community support for teachers and students is second to none. We are especially fortunate to have a community of churches who partner with us in a variety of ways, all of which ultimately benefit the Humble ISD family. Jerry Monbaron, Chief Community Engagement Officer, will now highlight 2 of these special partnerships.
Thank you. Humble ISD is committed to ensuring all students are going to be ready for the new school year. So for several years now, Humble ISD has partnered with local businesses and organizations to collect donated school supplies for our families in need. And then a couple of weeks before school starts, the transitional housing team and the community engagement team work together to hand out these supplies to families. Last year, we handed out school supplies in a drive-through event on the hot parking lot of Turner Stadium in July. So I can't guarantee that we're always going to have the best ideas, but I guarantee we will only do the dumb ones once. So this year, we were looking for an indoor space. And the first ones we asked was Second Baptist Church, and we're thrilled when they said yes. And because they said yes, we were able to expand this event from not just passing out school supplies, but they also gave us space for Humble High School barber students to come and give haircuts to the families and the students. Lions Club members came and administered vision exams for the students. HAM handed out food and some other resources. Child Nutrition was there to help families fill out their free and reduced lunch applications. And we even had clinics come and give immunizations. So we were very thrilled to be able to not just be able to do this event indoors, but to be able to expand it. And on that one day, we handed out over 5,000 school supply kits to families. That's it. Now, an impact this large doesn't happen without many community partners, like the YMCA, HEB, Kroger, HAM, and more. But this year's event was truly spectacular because of all the resources families could access at one time, and that is because we had the space from Second Baptist, and we are truly grateful for that. Pastor Micah Gill is with us tonight from Second Baptist. So I would like to ask School Board President Robert Scarfo, our superintendent's already here, Matt Smith from Humble ISD's transitional team, to come down with Pastor Gill to join us up here. And as they do, please join me, everyone in the audience, in showing our gratitude to Second Baptist Church. We are fortunate to have multiple church partners that help out Humble ISD families all throughout the year, and we do have one more that we'd like to recognize tonight. As the largest employer in the Lake Houston community, Humble ISD needs a big space to hold convocation for all employees every year. We were fortunate that Grace Church was able to do that for us this year, but they didn't stop there. In all of our interactions with their staff, we received a genuine, warm welcome. From the use of their incredible AV technology, to accommodating all of our dress rehearsals, to even allowing us to give out Bluebell ice cream treats in the front foyer, everyone at Grace provided wonderful hospitality at Humble ISD. They even joined us in the heat of the day to stand outside the church to welcome employees as they disembarked from the buses. So joining us tonight from Grace Church is Pastor Spencer Jones, Mark Reyes, and Ashley Provost. As they now come up front, please join me in thanking them for their partnership with Humble ISD.
Okay, Jerry, that was good. We might do it once, but we won't do the dumb things twice. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember that. Safety is our highest priority in Humble ISD, and I'm very proud of the rigorous expectations set by our Humble ISD Police Department. Here to tell us more is Chief Ray Schultz of the Memorial Village Police Department and immediate past president of the Houston Area Police Chiefs Association. Welcome.
Mr. President, members of the board, Madam Superintendent, members of the Humble ISD community, and guests. My name is Chief Ray Schultz, and I am the Chief of the Memorial Villages Police Department, and I'm also a member of the Texas Police Chiefs Association. I'm very honored to be here this evening representing the Texas Police Chiefs Foundation and the 2023 Accreditation Committee. The TPCA is an association made up of over 1,700 professional law enforcement executives throughout the state of Texas who are dedicated to improving the delivery of law enforcement services. I am here this evening to present the Humble ISD Police Department with their certificate of accreditation for achieving compliance with the Texas law enforcement best practices. Several years ago, actually 18 years ago, the Texas Police Chiefs Association developed an accreditation program for Texas law enforcement. Many of you here are already aware of an accreditation programs that are in place for schools, universities, laboratories, and hospitals. These programs are of professional excellence that require independent proof of compliance with a set of rigorous standards. The Texas Best Practice Program is an accreditation program that has 173 challenging standards for law enforcement. These standards address a full range of law enforcement operations to include use of force, protections of all citizens' rights, vehicle pursuits, officer training, arrest, search and seizure, patrol, investigative operations, property and evidence room management, and investigating and documenting citizen police complaints, just to name a few. This program has become the new gold standard for professional law enforcement in Texas, and agencies across the state have been working diligently to meet these requirements. This is a voluntary program. No one is forced, and any agency is forced to participate. Approximately 2 years ago, Chief Cook and the Humble ISD Police Department began the process of proving its compliance with these difficult and challenging standards. They had to prove their compliance to well-trained independent assessors from across the state. It was not easy to comply. The agency had to do a complete audit of all policies, procedures, training, and operations in order to meet these standards. The process culminated in May of this year when trained assessors, who were police executives from other parts of the state, made an on-site inspection of the agency. During the 2-day on-site inspection, the assessors interviewed staff, inspected facilities, operations, and equipment. They rode with officers, and they ensured compliance with each and every standard. The report was then sent to the accreditation committee, comprised of 9 active police chiefs from around the state, who reviewed the report and then voted to award accreditation status to the Humble ISD Police Department. Their vote was unanimous. During this process, the Humble ISD PD had proven that it meets or exceeds all 173 of these standards. There are currently over 2,800 law enforcement agencies in Texas. Of those 2,800 law enforcements, only 193 have been able to achieve accreditation through this program. This evening, I am here to officially recognize the Humble ISD Police Department as the 192nd accredited agency in the state of Texas. What does this mean to you? The accreditation program assures this board and the citizens of Humble ISD community that your agency is operating in a manner that reflects the current best practices of Texas law enforcement. This means that your agency is one of the best in the state. The certificate that I'm here to present this evening is a symbol of professional excellence. However, the real value of the program is the process that the men and women of the Humble Police Department, ISD Police Department, went through to obtain it. This is not the end of the process. The program assists the agency in maintaining compliance with the standards. The agency will have to submit annual reports and analysis to ensure continued compliance. And then in 4 years, we will be back again for another on-site inspection to ensure that the agency is continuing to comply with the standards. Your police department has proven to be trained and has proven itself to our independent assessors. They are one of the best in our state, and you all should be very proud of their accomplishment. I'm going to ask Chief Cook and Sergeant Moore to come forward so I can present them the certificate. I've been involved in law enforcement for 40 years. I've worked for 3 agencies. I've been involved in an accreditation program in 3 different states. The state of Texas has one of the most challenging accreditation programs there are. I was actually the chairman of the accreditation program in one state. When I met Sergeant Moore this evening, I asked her where her gray hairs were, because this process is one of such a challenge, and there are absolutely no breaks. The Humble ISD had to go above and beyond to make sure that all these standards were met, and there were, again, no exceptions. I'm very proud of the work that they've done as a member of law enforcement. Also very proud of the work that Chief Cook has done. I've worked with him as part of the Houston Area Police Chiefs Association. He was on my executive board. This man goes above and beyond. You should be very proud that you have him representing the Humble Police Department, ISD Police Department, as well as being actively involved in the Houston Chiefs Association. Of course, he's also actively involved in the Texas Police Chiefs, School Chiefs Association. So with that, I have the certificate that states, to all that this certificate be known that the Humble ISD Police Department, having fulfilled the necessary qualifications and mandatory requirements of the Texas Police Chiefs Association, Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices Accreditation Program, by voluntarily proving their compliance with Texas Law Enforcement Best Practices, the Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation Board of Directors do hereby award the Certificate of Accreditation effective the 22nd day of May, 2023. Chief, congratulations.
Congratulations, Chief. Now you're going to have a lot more ammunition to hit Billy with. That's a metaphor, you know. Okay. It's a joke. Okay. All right. I know I like to get my steps in the day, but I'm going to stay my steps here and stay down for this one. So we plan our convocation date well in advance, right? And so when we found out that the Region 4 Teacher of the Year ceremony was the same day as the convocation, I was bummed because I always go to both. Obviously, I have to be at convocation, but I always go to the Teacher of the Year ceremony. So Dr. Brown volunteered to go and not go to convocation, which I didn't take that personally. And so in any case, we have so much to celebrate in Humble ISD, and I know it's been an extended period here today, but it's a great problem to have, that we have so many successful, tremendously innovative, interesting students and programs and folks who are doing excellence in everything that we do, and this is just no different. So, we are very excited to share and to celebrate that Susan Mitchell was chosen as Region 4's Elementary Teacher of the Year. Yes. Ms. Mitchell is the librarian at Groves Elementary School. She was selected from teachers in 8 counties, 48 public school districts, and 41 charter schools. In 2019, Joe Panites of Atascocita High School was named the Region 4 Secondary Teacher of the Year. And now in 23, once again, an Humble ISD teacher, Ms. Mitchell, is the Region 4 Elementary Teacher of the Year. Ms. Mitchell, please come forward. We have a sign for your library with our theme this year that says shine a light and send it on. So thank you so much for everything you do for our students and staff at Groves Elementary. Okay, believe it or not, that does conclude our recognitions for this evening. And I just have to say that I think they probably want to select an Humble ISD teacher every year, but they know they have to spread it around. So 2019, 2023 will take it. So congratulations to Susan, Groves Elementary, and Humble ISD. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Now we will move to questions and comments by patrons or employees of the district on regarding agenda items or any other matters. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedures outlined on the agenda. The board asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion on the appropriate time during the meeting. Our first... What last page? Yeah, I got the name. Mr. Cobb, right, is our first, yeah. Is Mr. Cobb here? Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Fagan and board members. An Humble ISD truly ready for a mass casualty event in our schools. According to the FBI stats, not really. Our high schools have armed resource officers stationed on campus for quick response to emergencies, but middle and elementary schools, from my understanding, do not. For middle and elementary schools, I have been told that 5-minute response time is unacceptable for the protection of our schools. This is just the response time. Amber Box found that on average it takes 5 minutes to contact police. Will 10-minute response time be quick enough response to a mass shooting? The FBI published their active shooting report for 2019 and identified 64 shootings that were duration of incidents that could be ascertained. 69% of those incidents ended in 5 minutes or less. This means 28.1% of shooters were engaged by law officers, and 13.1% of the incidents ended after unarmed citizens successfully restrained the shooters. It is critical to end shooting incidents rapidly because survival rate decreases by 7 to 10% for every minute for a victim of cardiac or neurological injuries. For arterial injuries, death occurs after about 2.5 minutes. Safe Schools found that 57% of mass shooting injuries were head and/or chest injuries. Therefore, reducing the response time is a key component of preventing or reducing casualties. So maybe it's time for Humboldt to start looking at the Marshall Plan. Teachers are on the front line when it comes to protecting students. We have read reports of unarmed teachers engaging the shooters to protect their students, and they unfortunately lost their lives from their actions. What if the teachers had the most effective tool for self-defense to protect those students? A firearm. Humboldt ISD has teachers that have received firearm trainings from previous occupations, and some would answer to the call to protect the students at schools. We have armed resource officers at high schools to reduce the response time to a shooting incident, and the Marshall program can do the same for elementary and middle schools. Humboldt ISD can no longer be complacent about a 5-minute response time for shooting incidents, because if so, then Humboldt ISD accepts the needless deaths of students and staff that could be saved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. And we still have one more? Okay, we do have one more speaker, Ms. Green, Erin Green.
Good evening. My name is Erin Green, and I am a current taxpayer in Humboldt ISD, a mother, and a former public, private, and charter school teacher. $500,000 is the cost of the new curriculum by Prisms. The district has purchased this AI program to teach students math, particularly algebra. We have been told that the inventor of this program graduated from MIT. The founder, Anurupa Ganguly, began Prisms in 2020, which is only 2.5 years ago. She taught in Boston for over 10 years in STEM. Since the company is so young, there's no data showing this program is even going to work. We purchased iStation over 10 years ago with the belief that this would help our students learn how to read. Many of our students struggle to read on grade level and struggle with comprehension and decoding words. Texas and other states have tried this experiment with computers in the classroom for the past decade, and it is destroying our children's ability to learn and think critically. Many of our students are unable to read, write, and complete simple math. Many of our students are unable, I do not doubt Ganguly is an intelligent woman, but to spend this kind of money with no information regarding the success of this program is premature. Prisms is a new, shiny toy that some teachers want to try because it's new and different. Just a second, I'm trying to get it apart now. Another concern in the consent agenda I, which sets up an interlocal agreement with the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. Would this allow schools to acquire students' counseling and without parental consent? Recently, the Department of Education requested on the Federal Registry comments regarding changes to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. In essence, the government would allow local districts to not gain parental consent regarding accessing a child's governmental insurance. Districts would be able to acquire medical treatments such as medications, pills, shots, therapies, and surgeries without parents' consent or awareness. I am not saying this is what you have in mind, but providing the public with your intention on this item would benefit any confusion in the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move to item G, comments by individual board members. I'll start to my right this evening. Ms. Lamont Dixon.
Thank you. Well, a few things, man, so many wonderful things. But first, I'd like to say welcome back to all the teachers. Convocation was truly amazing. And welcome back to all of the students that are on their way. It was so nice to see Representative Cunningham here tonight in two respects. Thankful for that. And we're missing America's Got Talent, but I should have DVR'd that. And when it comes to the Teacher of the Year, Region 4 Teacher of the Year, Miss Mitchell, I know she had to go, but I have to say she was my son's teacher in 4th grade at Green Tree. And she truly was special then, and obviously still is doing a wonderful job for the district. Just real quick, each of you have, most of you have a caricature of yourself. I wanted to share what that was about. A parent called me recently to say that her family, her youngest graduated from Kingwood High School this year, and they are moving away from Kingwood, but her oldest daughter, who is an amazing artist who graduated from Kingwood Park High School, had made these caricatures of the board in the early spring, but she's been away at school, and then she went away for an internship, and her name is Carson Creech. And just an amazing, talented person. So I just wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to present those. And to say, from Carson's mother, Mrs. Creech, who was a longtime teacher also in our district, she's very thankful to Humble ISD. All three of her kids have been extremely successful beyond Humble ISD's doors. So just wanted to make sure we took an opportunity to share that and deliver everyone's caricature. And I think they all look like you, by the way, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grabowski?
I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirchhoffer? Okay. Mrs. Parker?
Just have a great first day of school. It's going to be a great 2023-2024 school year. Super excited.
Thank you. Mr. Sitton?
No comment.
And Mr. Holmes?
No comment other than welcome back our teachers, the administrative team who actually probably has been working, of course, all through the summer. And again, just good to see the students back.
Well, thank you. And I will follow the majority lead. I have no comments other than say welcome back. And that June and July went pretty fast, didn't it? Wow. Yeah. Anyway, Dr. Fagan.
Thank you so much. I also want to say welcome back to everybody. I was out at North Bend today, and the campus is looking great. Opens tomorrow for students. Great job, Tom and Jason and Christy, Stephanie. So many of you were out there today, and the teachers of North Bend, I tell you what, they were so excited to be in their campus that they unpacked their boxes at a rate that I would have never imagined. Some of those rooms were completely put together. They've only been there for a day and a half, and they did a wonderful job. They're so excited, and I can't wait to see their students' faces tomorrow when they move into a new campus that they don't expect and haven't seen. So it's going to be a great first day tomorrow, and welcome back, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan, and yes, it will be. Okay, next on our agenda are action items from closed session. Item 4A, personal recommendations. Mr. Sitton, do you you have a motion for us?
Yes, Mr. President, I move that the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented in closed session with addendum.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Mr. Holmes, I see Mr. Holmes vote. Okay. It's unanimous, just want to make sure. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. And let's see, we move to, yes, item 4C, student expulsion. Mr. Sitton.
Yes,
Motion,
Mr.
please.
President, I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation of student expulsion as presented in closed session with addendum.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 4D, Level 3 Parent Complaint Appeal, Board Policy FNG. Mr. Sitton.
Yes,
Do we have a
Mr.
motion?
President, I move the board uphold the administration's decision on the Level 3 grievance under Board Policy F&G as presented in closed session.
Second.
Second. That's the third second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Mr. Holmes is in favor. Okay. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. It's item 5. Item A, approval of minutes for the special board meeting held on Friday, July 7th, 2023. Item B, and I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, I may not be able to see, so if you wanted to pull something, just say so, or if somebody would watch for Mr. Holmes, because I'm reading. Item B, approval of minutes for the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. It's consent. Item C, approval of revised minutes for the special board meeting held on Thursday, June 29th, 2023. That's consent. Item D, approval of goods, professional services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. That's consent. Item E, 2023-24 construction and construction-related purchases. Okay, that's consent. Item F, bond fund transfers and amendments. That's consent. Budgetary transfers and amendments. That's consent. H, tax refunds. That's consent. Item I, board authorization of interlocal agreements.
I'd like to pull.
Okay, that's pulled. Item J, approval of RFP number 2023-103, school safety products and services. That's consent. Item K, approval of RFP number 2024-102-24, software subscriptions and web-based applications. That's consent. Item L, policy revisions, TASB update 121, and administrative recommendations, final action. Okay, that's consent. M, 2023 to 2024 Student Code of Conduct. That's consent. Item N, change order number 1, multipurpose rooms, group 2. That's consent. Item O, general contractor selection for Summer Creek High School's Sky School additions and renovations. That's consent. Item P, consideration of professional services. That's consent. Item Q, consideration of architect for Ross Sterling Middle School. That's consent. Item R, deductive change orders. That's consent. S, additional staff positions for 2023-24.
I'd like to pull.
Okay, that's pulled. Another item S. Item T, TASB Board of Directors candidate endorsement position 4A. That's consent. TASB Board of Directors candidate endorsement position 4B. That's consent. And then we come to item V, approval of the consent agenda. So, Mr. Sitton, may I please get a motion on the consent agenda with the exception of those items pulled?
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda items 5A through 5U with the exception of the two items 5I and 5S.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Mr. Holmes as well? Okay. Motion passes unanimous. Now we will go back to our pulled items. And Mr. Sitton, please tell me the first one. I know it was.
The first pulled item will be 5I, and then the second pulled item will be
Is
5S.
Okay. So, I. I need a motion on that, please. Well, yeah, we will, but do we need to place a, since we didn't do it?
That's correct,
we
Mr.
need a
Scarfo.
motion, right?
Generally, the board would have a motion, and there may be one in the parliamentarian script. And if not, Mr. Sitton, I can assist with that as well. A motion and a second, and then an open for discussion.
Under 5I, Mr. President, I move to approve the listing of interlocal agreements.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now we can discuss it. That's all I was trying to get to. All right. So, if I were, Mr. Grabowski, you pulled that, so would you like to start the discussion? You don't have to, but.
Sure, I'd love to start it. I've been on the board a short period of time. My understanding of this agreement, it was originated in what year? And this is for renewal, is that correct, Ms. Marr?
That's correct, Mr. Grabowski, excuse me. It was originally approved by the board in 2020, and then again amended in 2021 with a second approval by the board. This would be the third time around with the board on this particular contract.
Because I've tried to get a copy of this agreement so I could read it and understand what I would be voting on to pass, but I've been unsuccessful. So I don't know how you can vote on something you haven't seen.
My apologies, Mr. Grabowski. The contract was provided to the board at 1:08 p.m. this afternoon and circulated to all trustees.
Did you not receive the email?
I didn't receive that email, or I didn't check at that late hour. I don't know.
Any others? Ms. Parker, you look like you wanted to speak?
Could this be tabled until the next board meeting?
There's a motion and a second on the floor. In order to table, it would involve an additional motion from the board. But yes, that is possible as long as the trustee would move.
I understand, but if I move to table it till the next meeting, is this time-sensitive matter?
The agreement is currently set to expire in August, the end of this month, August 31st. Hence the bringing to the renewal to the board at this point.
Thank you.
Would it be possible to bring it back to the meeting we're having on Friday?
It would not at this time because we're within the 72-hour window.
Okay. Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
I would also say that we do have Dr. Melissa Lee and Ty Hobbs who are available if the board has any questions regarding the contract.
Would you like to direct questions to the staff?
I just, is there any way that I could have a chance to look at it before the vote?
That would be entirely up to the discretion of the board.
Any other? I understand your position, and you certainly do not have to vote on something you do not feel comfortable with. That's absolutely, I would applaud you for doing it. And Any other discussion on this topic?
Dr. Fagan, do you want to explain what?
Sure. Dr. Lee, do you want to come up and just give a high-level overview of this? It does require parent permission, despite maybe some other thoughts, but it does absolutely require parent permission if it's used at all. So
Absolutely. So TCHAT is the Texas Child Health Access Through Telemedicine program through the University of Texas. We contract with them. Parent permission is required at all levels. We first, if a student is identified as in need, the counselor obtains parent consent to even refer the child to TCHAT, and then TCHAT reaches out to the parent to get written consent and explain all services. The parent is invited to attend all telemedicine services and is involved in the process all along the way. It's just another avenue for our kids to receive rapid access to mental and behavioral services that they may not be able to get any other way quicker.
It provides another layer of support for those students, and it allows them the opportunity to receive therapy. And they can receive therapy during the school day, at home, and it's a convenient way for them to receive therapy.
It's also free of charge for the parents. There is no need for the parents to pay or provide any insurance information.
And let me just add a follow-up question, Dr. Lee, Ms. Hobbs. There wouldn't be a way for a child to schedule an appointment to attempt to get medication without the parent's consent or knowing?
Correct. No, there is no access to these services without parent consent, and parents are invited to attend all of the teletherapy sessions with their student if they choose to. If it's at home, they have to attend them. If it's at the school, then a school member is present.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Dr. Lee, if a child goes into the office with permission from their parent, and then they start talking about something that the parent is unaware of because it wasn't on the permission slip, so to speak, but the doctor perceives this as a real issue and it needs to be treated, what would happen?
There is communication with the parents. They also communicate with our campus counselors if the student is in imminent danger or if there is something that needs to be addressed immediately. So there are open lines of communication with our school staff as well as with the parents.
So if the child went to the doctor and said, I'm concerned you might tell my parents, can you not tell my parents?
There are certain laws that we must follow, and we tell the students as well as the therapists with TCHAT. There are things that may remain confidential. However, there are things that we must share with your parents and or school staff personnel to ensure your safety.
And there's no situation where any medicine would be provided without parent consent.
Yeah, the issue is with what can stay confidential.
Again, with TCHAT, the parents are invited to attend all the teletherapy sessions, so we would encourage the parents to be on that Zoom with the student and the therapist in those situations. If they have any concerns, they're invited to attend all of them.
That works, but if the parent's working, it doesn't work, so what happens?
They can schedule it at their convenience. TCHAT works very hard to schedule this at the parent's convenience. It can be scheduled during the school day or at home with the parent. It's their choice to schedule that. They work at all hours to meet the parent's needs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Ms. Parker?
To Ms. Mayor, if we vote on this tonight and we read the contract and find something objectionable, we can come back?
The contract has a provision where either party can terminate with 30 days' notice at any point.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so the motion on the table is to renew the contract as identified in the interlocal agreement on the agenda. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed?
Just abstain?
And I was going to ask, that was my next.
Okay, sorry.
Abstentions, what's okay? One. So it was 6, 4, 1 abstention. All right, thank you. All right, and And again, Ms. Sitton, may I please have a motion on the other item, I think it was S, that was pulled? That's what I have noted here, so.
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve additional staff positions for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as stated in this item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second, so now we will open it up to discussion. And Mr. Grabowski, would you like to lead the way? You had asked to pull this, so I'm going to.
This is the increase in staff for the safety plan that Dr. Fagan, you went over at the convocation, correct?
Close. So at the budget, you remember that we were going to do an increase in staff to begin to meet the requirements of House Bill 3 within what was available. We've been working on a good cause alternative plan, and so it was 10, but you'll see 11 here, and so that's a slight difference. I just wanted to point that out.
I remember in the budget discussing options, there were 8 of them, and we came to agreement on none of them.
Well, we actually did, Billy, correct me if I'm wrong, we did talk about starting with 10 and increasing from there, and then we wanted to make sure we sort of ratified that position and also made sure it was 11 as we've been working on this plan closely. It's difficult to discuss this in public because we don't want to share all the details inside and out, but we are planning to do that because it's a requirement to go forward from the position that we're in.
But we didn't poll that way in closed session.
I guess I don't understand the position because my understanding from the public vote was that we were voting to approve the budget, including the 10 police officers and 2 sergeants at the time and their vehicles. But we wanted to make sure that it was explicitly done with this item and then add the additional officer to make it 11 and 2.
Ms. Parker?
If we vote to approve these 11 officers, it doesn't mean in the future that next board meeting, we couldn't add.
Correct.
If we could find them.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted, I guess, I didn't remember when we voted, we had the final budget vote, we came out, we had certainly come up with an amount, and that's what was put into the budget. So the first sentence I agreed with, it was, I don't recall, and again, my memory could be faulty, I just don't recall that that was the option we really fell out on, because I thought when we were up in the air as to what it would be. So that's my confusion with this item, saying that's the way we're going, and not that I have any problem with us hiring the additional, the 11. And I thought it was 10 and 2, and you said, no, we made it 11. Okay, I'm there with you there. So that's where I did not remember it that way. So that's the issue that I have.
Yeah, I guess the good news is we have it on tape, so we can go back and look and see if we're remembering it wrong or if there was confusion, because that's, the challenge was that it was a last-minute addition to the budget, and we were trying to make it all work. And so that's the reason we're bringing this back, because we wanted it to be absolutely clear that we were adding these people and these FTE to the budget and including the extra additional officer that we feel is possible to hire. And we want to just have approval for that.
I mean, I didn't go back and look, so if that's what it said that we were going to do, then that's exactly right. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So I take it what you're saying, because if we did, then fine. I have no issue with that, with the item. If we specifically said that's the one we're going with, to hire the 10 and the 2, and whether it's 11 and 2, that's not an issue for me. So, okay. Any other questions on the item? Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. And now we will vote. All those in favor? Okay, 7-0. All right, thank you. All right, now we have completed the consent agenda, and we will move to action items, number 6 on the overall agenda. And we have one action item this evening, item 6A, House Bill 3, good cause exception and alternative standard. Would somebody like to give me that in a motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I move to claim a good cause exception to the requirements of House Bill 3 due to lack of personnel qualified to serve as security officers by September 1, 2023. Delegate authority to the superintendent to develop an alternative standard with which the district is able to comply.
Okay,
Second.
and I have a second. Now we will open that to discussion.
So just a reminder to the board, House Bill 3 requires a armed peace officer on every campus by September 1st. That's simply not possible for Humble ISD. We would have to hire 30 officers in less than a month. Now, I will say that Chief Cook and Assistant Chief Jornay have hired a lot of people this summer. They are doing a fantastic job. They have people in the queue. We have done a full review of all of our officers and their placements. We have done a full review of possibilities to be as close to the House Bill 3 requirement as we can be. And so the bottom line, though, is we will not be able to meet the law as it states. Therefore, the path forward for Humble ISD is to declare the good cause exception due to lack of personnel of peace officers, and then we would return to you with our alternative plan.
Can I ask what that alternative plan is?
In executive session, you can. I really don't feel comfortable sharing all of our plans for covering every single campus in public. I don't think that's a wise move.
Then can we go to closed session?
And so the bottom line, though, is our plan with this particular scenario was that we have to have the good cause exception because we can't meet it no matter what by September 1st. And then we could, at the next meeting, have a significant conversation in executive session about what we would propose for the requirement. And underneath this is the actual legal language if anybody needs it, the requirement, and then also our plan to meet the requirement in as timely a fashion as we can.
Okay, because I know we still are debating the shall versus may.
Correct, and that's why I put this up here. There's no question, if you go back to the last slide, that the initial piece is that the district shall have an armed officer at each campus. There's no doubt about that, and then you can see what the options are. A security officer described by must be either a school district peace officer, a school district resource officer, which is where you contract with another jurisdiction, and or a commissioned peace officer employed as security personnel. So all of those are required peace officers. That's the threshold that we cannot meet by September 1. I think almost every district in Texas, with a handful of exceptions, is in that situation. Therefore, the legislature put forward this next piece that says that you may, if you're unable to comply, you may claim a good cause exception, which is what we're asking you to do tonight, so that we can be in compliance with that component. And then, and it's due to item 2, personnel who qualify to serve as everything listed in subsection A. And then it goes on to say that the board who claims a good cause exception under that must develop an alternative standard, which we're asking to bring back to you, with which the district is able to comply, and it may include providing a person to act as a security officer who is the items listed below there. And so the way that the legal folks are interpreting that is that you must have an armed person that is a peace officer unless you claim a good cause exception. And if you claim a good cause exception, then you may use those other things, or you determine what the standard is for your district, which is what we're working to put together.
Any, I'll come back to Mr. Grabowski if anyone else has comment to make. I didn't want to. Mrs. Parker?
I did talk to our state senator, Senator Brandon Creighton, and he will be generating letter to all school boards and the TEA, kind of clarifying some of this too. So it's, every school board's in the same boat on compliance by September 1.
Mr. Sidney?
I wish he wouldn't have left, because I talked to Representative Cunningham and got some clarity as well. And I think our interpretation that was just mentioned is what I guess the intent is that all schools need to be safe. And this is the way the legislation is written and how it needs to be done. And with that they're aware that no one is going to be compliant with that first slide. And how do we get to there in the most efficient, best way possible to ensure that not only are we compliant, but at the end of the day, it's not about, it's about compliance, but at the end of the day, it's about saving kids. It's about safety. That's cut to the chase. That's what it's about. How do we get there? So.
Mr. Holmes, I didn't want to leave you out of the discussion. I see you there. I keep my eye on you, so I can call on you. So if you'd like to go, since other people have spoken more than once, so go ahead. Yes? No?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I'm okay
I
with
just wanted to leave you out.
the current plan in place, completely understand. And again, I think it goes back to, I still believe that we have a robust enough police force. I'm again not in favor of the Guardian program or the other one that is similar. So again, there is absolutely no way we could have 30 officers by September 1. I know, and I've seen the plan. I believe I've seen it via email per Chief Cook and Dr. Fagan. So again, I'm fine with where we are. Completely understand, and I see the I see the story and how we're going to fulfill that. So again, I'm okay.
Mr. Grabowski, wanted to come back. I know I held you for a second.
I have a very different stance. I think people know that. It's about $2.5 million a year for resource officers. 10 years out, $25 million. The state gave us $800 and something thousand, which would more than cover the cost for the Marshall Plan for 10 years. We'd have surplus. That's just money. To me, that doesn't matter that much. What matters to me is that first 5 minutes. And the schools are vulnerable. And we'll sit up here and tell you we're taking care of your kids, and I feel very different. We're not. There's a big empty vacuum in the first 5 minutes. Do a little research. Parkland, Florida, how the resource officer behaved. Uvalde, Texas, how the resource officer behaved. And you'll see a pattern. The resource officer checks out, hides out, makes a 911 call himself for more police cover. They don't engage the shooter. They don't charge the weapon. Do your research. You'll see I'm saying what's correct out there. Let me give you an end of year story. I'm married to a teacher. You all know that. Dr. Fagan does inspiring moments. I'll give you a really cool inspiring moment that teachers do. And you have to be there between 12:10 and 12:15 on dismissal day, the last day of the year. The pure chaos in the school at 10 minutes before dismissal, I think it's one of the 4 happiest days in a kid's life. Easter, Christmas, birthday, and the last day of school. Right? There are 4 holidays. The teachers walk them out at noon. They come back in the building, and at 12:10, the building's eerily silent. And if you look at them, teachers are gathered by grade level. They're crying or tearing, and you got to ask why. And they watched that child grow for a year, and they were the most instrumental part of that growth. And then you know what else they know? They love that child. They can't love him as much as you as mom and dad, but they love that child. And that's why they're crying, because they're saying goodbye to their family. And they want to protect these kids. Mr. Cobb, you were very, very brave to come up here today. I agree with you. We need the Marshall Plan. We need to keep the children safe in the first 5 minutes. It's done by volunteers. They don't have to do it if they don't want to do it. They will get a psychological exam. They'll get a background check. And we'll train them to Chief Cook's excellent police department, I have to admit. But a response is not the answer. An armed preventive shooter inside the school and changing in our ridiculous gun-free signs on the doors is the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grabowski. And we kind of got a little far from the motion, but this is an important topic, so I let it happen knowingly. But I will say my concern is I'm not convinced about the language, and I'd be happy or looking forward to Senator Creighton coming out with something, and that was my concern from the start, is I don't think, we absolutely need to pass, and I encourage us to pass this waiver tonight, and I would like to see that happen, so I'm lobbying for it. But it's the question of what does the waiver allow us to do? What does it mean? I'm just not convinced at this point in time, and I could be wrong. I have been before, and I want to know without a reasonable doubt, I guess, that we have to comply. And what I believe the may is it's giving you options other than hiring. I wish we could hire 30 more of our law enforcement officers from our current police department. I'd be very happy about that. But that doesn't seem to be a very doable thing. We know that, and I think that's why the may is there. That way you can try you can use these other things. I just need to be convinced that rolling out over 3 years is going to cut it with the law. And that's what I'm concerned about, is that we meet the law so that nobody can say we're negligent, because I want to protect our staff, our students, and so does everybody here want to do that. I'm sure it keeps you up at night at times. I know it does each of us. So that's what we want. We all want the same goal. There's no question about that. My only concern is I want to make sure that we are doing what the legislature mandated us to do and fund it. And I wish Mr. Cunningham was here, but I've told him this in conversation, that they certainly didn't give us much money to do it with. And again, it's almost an unfunded mandate, which is what they normally do. So legislators, forgive me, but that's how I feel. So I want us to we have to pass this waiver because we have to ask for the waiver. That's one step. But I'm not going to rest until I'm convinced what the waiver allows us to do. That's my ask in this whole thing. So I'll stop. Yes, Mr. Sitton. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100% that we have to comply. And I also agree with you 100% that we don't have a choice but to pass this waiver, given the administration the opportunity to do that. As we talked in the past, the legislature passes legislation, and as it relates to public schools, TEA is the enforcement arm. And so we won't be allowed to move forward with a plan unless it's approved by TEA that says it complies with the way the law is written. So that's what we're doing here, is giving Dr. Fagan and the administration the opportunity to put forth a plan that would satisfy exactly what your concern is.
Thank you. And that's what I'd like to see, that we do get that acknowledgement and authorization that, yes, we can do what we're proposing, whatever that might be. Any more discussion? Mr. Grabowski.
The only issue I have with the mays and the shalls, and I agree with everything as it was read, and I have it right here in case it wasn't read, is I don't think it allows us to extend the time randomly to 3 years. That's the big rub, is we have picked 3 years to meet a budget, or 10, 11, 10, 10, when there is a way to do this much quicker. And when we're going to claim a good cause exception, and we don't act on a way we could, I don't know what the TEA is going to say. Meaning, the Marshall Plan is an option. It is even mentioned in the bill. And we're going to sit here and go 3 years out and not even entertain the idea.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Fagan, yes.
So for the budget process, we did talk about 3 years. We have been working on it since that time. I would appreciate the opportunity to bring back something that we've been working on and talking about without discussing in public, because the only thing we're asking for tonight is the good cause exception, just because there's no other path forward. Any of these options that the board would choose would not be in time for September 1, no matter what. But, the Humble ISD has always been very collaborative with our community. I mean, when we did our calendar, Jamie and her team put together the opportunity for everybody to sort of choose their own, move this break here and do this and that and the other, so people could see the challenges of developing a calendar. And so to arm teachers is certainly something that I think parents would want to be involved in a conversation about. And so any of these pathways are going to take some time. And in the meantime, we're putting together the urgent plan that is required, that we do believe is in the best interest of our students and staff, and that is actually feasible. And we would like the opportunity to bring that back and discuss it. And then if the board directs us to do other things, we're happy to do that also.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. And what do you think timeframe, like by the next regular board meeting or
Yeah.
after that?
Well,
That's okay.
like I said, we've been working really hard on sort of what I would call the urgent right now plan, and we'll be ready to bring that back to the board at the next meeting, no question about that. The hiring does take time, so I can't pretend that it doesn't. But I do believe that Assistant Chief Journay has been working really hard on hiring, and we're as fully staffed as we've been I think in my 7 years here. And so we're continuing down the path toward hiring these additional officers, and we'll bring you what I would call the urgent plan, the one that has the minimum response time. We're taking all these things into consideration. And then from there, if the board directs us to go down other pathways, we're certainly happy to explore those, but we would request that they be done thoughtfully, because there's a lot of human resources and police issues associated with some of these other options.
Thank you. Mrs. Parker.
And I would like to point out, even if we went into closed, and decided we wanted to do the Marshall program tomorrow, we would need this good cause exception to be passed regardless of the pathway we choose to take.
Yeah, clearly, and I think we were all in agreement. Okay, no further discussion. I am going to ask us to now vote. We have the motion and the second. All those in favor on the waiver? Okay, 7-0. All right, thank you. Now we can move to, information items under number 7. Mr. Perkins,
There have been no intruder detection audits since our last board meeting.
okay, thank you. I still need to ask you and have you say that, so thank you. All right. Now we have updates from our board, associations, and committees, and I will just ask if, are there any of our chairperson would like to provide an update? Raise your hand and I'll call you. Okay. Mr. Kirchhoffer.
Thank you. Audit Committee, we are in the process of preparing for the September 2023 Audit Committee meeting. We also just finished inventories, and we're preparing for the campus operational audits. Have a great first day tomorrow, everybody. Hopefully we get you home in time to get some rest.
Sorry, Mr. Odom. No other committee reports then. All right, we'll move on to item C, the student parent handbook. Any discussion from the board on the handbook that you got to see as an informational item in this last agenda, or this agenda that was sent out? Okay, having none, we'll move on to item D. Our annual report from the SHAC Committee, the Annual Health Advisory Council report. Any questions from the board members or any discussion about that information? Okay, then we will move to item 7E. It was asked to put on the agenda at a future, and this is here, it's here now, discuss pass-fail at the high school level. So,
And we have just a
Dr.
little
yeah.
overview. Okay, great. I'd like to introduce Dr. Lee, Mrs. Hobbs. Look at this, we've got the whole gang here. Mrs. Hobbs, Mr. LeSueur, and Mr. Uticrit, Dr. Uticrit. And they are here to just do a high-level overview. These are the facts, nothing but the facts on pass-fail as we know it in Humble ISD. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
No problem. Thank you for inviting us tonight. So we want to go over kind of different components of our pass-fail program at our high school level. First is the purpose. The purpose of this is to encourage participation in our upper-level classes that don't have an advanced or an honors designation so that their students' GPA and class rank is not affected if they choose to take upper-level courses that they're more passionate about. Some of the requirements that we have to stick to when we look at pass-fail is this can only apply to courses that are above and beyond their graduation and endorsement requirements. I'm going to go into what that looks like a little bit more in depth. Currently in Humble ISD, and this is where it gets a little confusing, we allow students to pass-fail up to 8.5 credit courses. So 8 typically semester courses, but you can do more than one course per semester. It's just 8.5 credits. So if I wanted to pass-fail AP Physics, for example, I would use 2 of my 8 to do the first semester and the second semester. So this is the Texas Foundation High School program, which is 22 credits, and this is a requirement for all of our graduates. So all of the courses that you see here on this screen are required courses and cannot be pass-failed per the state requirements for the graduation program. So a student can't decide to pass-fail English 1 or biology because those are required for their graduation plan. Additionally, in the state of Texas, students choose an endorsement. The 5 different options they have are listed here on the screen. These endorsements add additional components, and each one is unique. Each one has different requirements and different courses that are a part of that endorsement, and that gets up to the 26 credits that every student must have to graduate in the state of Texas. None of the courses that are a part of their endorsement can be taken pass-fail as well. And then the last thing that we have to work with students on is many of our students want this distinguished level of achievement. This is how they earn that automatic admission into Texas public schools. And if that's 10% of the class, and if they're trying to get into UT, the top 6% of the class. So in this level, they need additional 4 credits. They need a total, I'm sorry, not additional, total of 4 credits in math, including Algebra 2, 4 credits in science, and the successful completion of an endorsement. So they can't pass-fail anything that factors into this distinguished level of achievement either. Outside of that, however, they can pass-fail classes that they want to take. This is our current process. They have a conference with their counselor. This is to ensure that they are still meeting all of their transcript requirements, all of their endorsement and graduation requirements. And then they submit an application to their counselor 1 week after receiving their first or third 9 weeks grades on their report card. Once it is approved, they can't go back. So I can't decide that I made it through AP Physics with a B and I really want that B after all on my GPA. Once I pass-fail it, that pass-fail stays. I can't revert back to a numerical grade. They do still get numerical grades on their progress reports for UIL and other purposes, but on their actual final report card and transcript, it just shows a P or an F. They also cannot pass-fail dual credit courses per our agreements with the community colleges and others that do dual credits. And that is kind of the short version of what we currently do for pass-fail in Humble ISD.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, appreciate it, and you guys too for being there
No problem.
to support the effort. Any questions regarding this? Whose hand was up first? All right, ladies before gentlemen. Mrs.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Thank you for presenting to us tonight, but the question I would have is, do we also present this at the parent nights coming up this fall?
Yes.
In high schools?
We have, this same presentation you've seen has a voiceover that goes with it. It is shown in our advisory periods. Our student advisory kids are working on a more updated version of this. All of our personalized counseling meetings, this is addressed with. They share it with parents. It's on our website. We try to get this out as many ways as we can so that parents and students know their options.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So if I'm a parent, and we've done this, so, but if I'm a parent out there, we had I'm going to back up real quick. We had a breakfast with the board that talked about dual credit, talked about AP, talked about on-ramps, talked about pass-fail. We had, with our daughter, we had a conference with the school counselor, and we kind of looked at the endorsements. We looked at, kind of mapping out where we need to be and when we need to be there, so to speak. So what I hear from a lot of parents is that, it's confusing, we don't know. Do our counselors have enough time to meet that need? I know we're working towards individualized counseling, individualized learning. On the high school level, do they have the time and the capacity to meet that need for those that really need that sit down to kind of help map things out like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent question, Mr. Sitton. So over the course of the 3 years that we've been doing personalized counseling, it's evolved every year, and we've added to it as we've learned more. We started year one just trying to make sure that we got all of the meetings done. By year two, we had established agendas for each of them. This last year, we really had started working more. Ty Hobbs has worked with the counseling team at the high school level and even the middle school level, because a lot of this planning starts at the middle school level if you're taking high school level courses in middle school. With working with the students to review their transcript and their graduation plan, their courses they've selected for the course of their 4 years, which would be most advantageous for them if they want to partake in pass-fail in some of these situations. This year, we're even adding other layers to that as we move into students knowing not only their plan, their transcript, but their CCMR status and how they're going to earn that. So every year, we kind of add more to the plate of students and counselors, and working with the students to become their own advocates in those meetings and learning what they want to ask about their plan as well as a part of it. You're welcome.
Next, Mr. Grabowski, you had your hand up.
Yes, Dr. Key, why is the number 8 the number of passes? Why is it not 12 or 4? Why is it 8?
Sure. It's actually been that number for a long time, so I couldn't tell you where that number actually originated or started from. I will say that the superintendent's student advisory asks about this almost every single year, so we end up doing a little mini study on this every year. And it's my current understanding that 8 probably came to be because that gave the students an opportunity to pass-fail at least one course each of the 4 years they were in high school if they so wanted. Once you get above 8, it becomes difficult, not impossible, but it becomes difficult to maintain earning all 26 credits that are required to graduate. It would require kids definitely to start taking high school credit at middle school and definitely partaking in dual credit summer academy. Otherwise, they start losing opportunities to graduate within the 4 years and meet the 26 credit requirement.
Because I have an email, just lengthy, I'm not going to read it, but the gist of this mom's email was they have a very gifted daughter, varsity athlete, varsity orchestra, or first chair orchestra. And she has decided, because if she takes those as a senior, they're on grade level. So here she has to forego varsity basketball, volleyball and varsity orchestra so she can stay in the top 3 or 4 in her class. To me, if the student is motivated enough and that talented, that the system we have designed for that student hinders her from having, I did gymnastics, some of my greatest memories of gymnastics team. And we're going to take a young lady, and because she wants to pursue academics, which I think is awesome as well, of course, why can't we make an exception to that very gifted person that if they're going to meet all their requirements, that don't assume we're helping them by leaving it at 8 credits so they don't make their numbers to graduate, that if they're going to make their numbers to graduate and they want to take pass, fail, and more as a senior, why do we take that opportunity away from them? That's what she's asking. I think it's a great question. Do you have an answer for that? I really didn't know what to say to her. I had no idea.
Again, all I can present on tonight is our current practices. We're happy to have that conversation. Like I said, it comes up every year with Dr. Fagan's Student Advisory, where we kind of discuss this, we bring it up. I can't answer per se how we got to the 8, other than that's my understanding when it occurred years ago, was it was to give them at least the opportunity for 1 course per year of high school. I will say we've reviewed several of the other districts that we compare ourselves to, and we are one of the most flexible that we've been able to find so far in districts that are comparable to us.
Is Clear Creek comparable? Because they
I
just
believe
went to
Clear-
all electives or pass, fail.
Clear Creek went to all only calculating GPA for their core content and LOTE, correct? That provides additional set of pros and cons to review. It can be very advantageous for the top of the class, but it can hinder the middle of the students that rely on those elective courses to boost their GPA. Those are now taken out of the equation for them when they may be stronger at some of those electives.
Dr. Fagan, do you know when you're going to have that meeting to figure out, or when you have that advisory council for pass, fail and all of this?
Well, so I have a student advisory every single year, and the students actually dictate the agenda. So our first meeting, we get together and the students decide what they want to work on this year. And for the past several years, there's been a group that has wanted to work on GPA, and what's been very interesting about that is there was a group that talked about, well, what if we did just have the core or whatever, like you mentioned with Clear Creek. And there were several student athletes in there and said, wait a minute, you're going to get rid of what I'm the best at? Like I get some of my very best grades because I'm a varsity football player and I'm really great at that. And you're going to take that away and not value it? And so then the other students were like, oh, well, that's true. I do know that Dr. Lee looked at multiple districts. I looked at them. I thought our number of pass-fail courses was the highest of all the ones we reviewed.
It's all the highest of the ones we've been able to review and find so far.
There's several districts that only allow it for juniors and seniors. Some districts that very few pass-fail. Now, that doesn't mean that Humble ISD can't say, you can take as many as you want, but we would have to, the challenge with that is if students make mistakes, they're going to not graduate on time.
Right.
And that is a really hard conversation to have with families. It's a devastating conversation to have with families when their students don't have all the credits they need and either have to go to summer school or don't even graduate then. So I think the 8 was probably, and I'm just guessing, put in with a little bit of a safety rail for students so that they didn't take too many pass-fail classes and not graduate on time, which would then account against us. And not that this is one of my favorite things, but it would then count against us in our graduation rate. Yeah, but there's certainly the possibility that this team can study the options and return with ideas that the counselors would feel comfortable with.
Yeah, because if you went 12 pass fails instead of 8, but they're not eligible for those last 4, their senior year only with the permission of the guidance counselor or whoever's watching over them in the school level to make sure they'll have all their graduation requirements met, we're punishing some of these children that the mom wrote the email. If they're going to graduate on time, why can't they compete academically and still be a volleyball player and in an orchestra?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that is possible, to have 12 and still, I don't know the answer, but we could.
It would depend on if they had taken.
How many courses in middle school?
In middle school and dual credit summer academy, correct. It would depend on how many they took independently to make up for however many more they're pass failing, correct. And the only other thing I would add is currently we have some flexibility where if they want to take an early course their freshman or sophomore year pass fail, we can allow that. If we went to a higher number, we would have to most likely restrict that to ensure they'd met the graduation requirement before we allowed any pass fails. So you may be assigned a level fine arts course this year and want to take a dual credit one over the summer. We would not be able to honor that request until you had met your graduation requirement because we'd be in jeopardy of not graduating on time.
Yeah.
Where we currently have a little more flexibility.
Thank you. Ms. Lamont Dixon.
One more quick thing,
Sure.
sorry. So as we progress in counseling, one of the things that I think that might be important to parents, just from the conversations that I've heard, is that when the student comes in for their one-on-one plan, I know we're trying to get students to advocate for themselves, but I do think at least one of those opportunities, it may be nice for the parent to be invited. I mean, because a lot of times, even with what you were speaking to, Mr. Grabowski, when you're looking at universities, and now I have 4, right, who've gone through, it depends kind of on what your outcome is going to be. Like, so for instance, there are universities that your kids or your family may be expecting for their child, and they need 3 years of foreign language. But they may go into a plan, and when the counselor says you only need 2, they're like, oh, great, I'm only going to take 2. And that happened with me with one of my kids, right? But I'm like, oh, no. You want all of these options, so you need to take at least 3 years of foreign language. Or weighted versus unweighted. A lot of parents put a lot of weight on AP, but certain schools, and actually a lot of the top schools, want to see your unweighted GPA, and so not the weighted. So you can also tell your kid, you know what, you can relax a little bit. Instead of taking 4 AP classes or whatever, maybe you take 2 and make sure you focus on your unweighted GPA. I just think there are a lot of variables, and so it's already complicated enough. We're asking all these questions as a board, but I think for a kid to advocate in that space for themselves, I think the parent has to be connected at some point to make sure that they're involved in that process. And I know we get the, what is it, Naviance? I can't remember what it's called now, but I know we can.
The course selection to
the course
Naviance,
selection.
yes.
I know we can go into that system, but when that conversation is had, if at least one time, at least in that planning process, I do think it would be beneficial for the parent to be involved in that process. Just food for thought. Food for thought. I'm not trying to get involved in your day-to-day,
No, we
but
appreciate it,
food
and
for
we
thought.
always are trying to take things back to our counseling groups to get feedback on additional ways to improve the process.
Any other questions or discussion? I just wanted to ask you, and I was going to ask you, Ms. Marr, if I'd even be able to say this, but everybody's already said it, so I guess it's okay. You didn't stop us. Could you do the same kind of thing? Because the counterpoint you both raised about where some of these districts have said, you know what, for electives, we just don't we don't use the number. It's not going to be factored in. And you guys said, well, yeah, some kids are saying, no, I really want that to be factored in. So could it be the same approach like you do with pass-fail, where a student could say, I don't want the number in I just want to take the class, and I'm not really getting anything into my GPA. It's not going to hurt me in terms of, because it's not an honors class, it's not a juiced up number, as opposed to the kids, no, I do want my A, even though it's a regular, on level A as opposed to an honors A. Is that something we as an LEA can do, or how'd you like that acronym?
That was good.
That was good. Or can we, you have to TEA's got to say yes?
Well, I don't know if TEA has any I mean, I think these are local decisions as far as how you calculate GPA. There's some districts that are saying, oh, we don't do class rank anymore except for number 1 and 2. There's just all kinds of different things. We only use the core. So they're looking at all these different paths, and what we're trying to do is make sure we don't say, well, if you're an academic student, then our plan benefits you the most. But if you're a fine arts student, our plan hurts you the most. We're trying to get the best of all worlds. I haven't heard of where you can choose what courses actually go into your GPA. There's a lot of calculating that students do and figuring out, if I take this and I don't take that, and this is 5 points and this is 4, and because that valedictorian spot is coveted, and you do get a free year of tuition. And so they're definitely wanting that. I've never heard of that model, but that's a little bit what UT On-Ramps does, is they say you can take the course, and then if you don't like what the grade you get, then you don't have to take it, which I've never seen that before until they did that. So, I mean, we're happy to
We can explore
look
and
at
see
all
what's
the
out there.
possibilities.
I just throw that out there, just because you're saying, they can take so many as pass-fail. Well, okay, this is another option, to something maybe in the mix. I just throw it out there. You guys can think about it and see if that makes sense too, to get
We're
most
happy to
kids
look
what they want, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be interesting higher ed's take on some of those things, because at the end of the day, your high school transcript is all about getting into college.
Yep.
Or, I mean, really, that's it. Nobody cares after that. And so it's really about talking with admissions counselors and saying, if we did this, would our kids get unweighted or whatever?
Well, and Ms. Lamont Dixon brings up a good point. Most universities strip your GPA and courses down to their calculation, however, and each one does it slightly differently as well, so
Yeah.
that's very valid.
All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Thank
for
you.
all the information. Okay. I'm sorry, turn it back on. Now we will move to item 7F, membership in school board professional organizations. Any discussion at this time, or do we want to defer this to a later date, which we certainly can do that too?
Defer.
Okay, is there no other, Ms. Lamont Dixon, you want to
No,
discuss?
you added it, Chris, Mrs. Parker, so if you want to defer, that's fine.
I do want to defer.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get in the middle of that, so, no, just, that's fine. You guys, let me know, we could certainly put it back. I know the reason I had put it in this meeting, you guys had asked it was probably at least 2 meetings ago, and I was trying to just be respectful of what you guys wanted to have a discussion about this, so that's why it was there. All right, and the last item on the information items is item 7G, Financial Services Reports. It's a monthly administrative item. Any questions, excuse me, or discussions from the board? Got off the hook again. I tell you what, you're leading a charmed life. Okay, it is 9:06, so we are now moving to item 8, or to close this meeting down. And first, I will ask, are there any items anyone would like to see added to a future board agenda? Your hand's not up. Okay. All right, so there are none. So, time is, no, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Holmes, I'm so sorry, and I did such a good job of looking at you all night to see you.
No, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to offer a little bit of, I had some questions on the pass-fail. We don't have to go back to them, but maybe we can keep them for the next agenda. Or Dr. Fagan, I'd like to hear back from you if you want to just table this so we can, I'd like to know what that exception process looks like. I'd like to see what best practices there are amongst districts that, like, what is the Woodlands doing? What is Houston ISD doing, right? Because if we're saying we're pretty high on the scale of pass-fail in terms of the number of classes we allow, I just want to see what's out there. So again, I was trying to talk, but apparently there was an audio issue. We can discuss it later, but I would like it either added on the agenda again, or we can just discuss it once. Dr. Fagan, I can provide some questions I'd like some feedback on, if that's better for later discussion.
Sure, Mr. Holmes, if you just send those to me in email, and then I'll figure out the best path forward for those.
Okay. Sounds good.